Hi, my relatives. On today's episode of Our Storytellers, we're joined by Marie Smallboy. Marie is from Maskwacis. She's from a very ceremonial family in Alberta. This podcast is really special to me, and you might notice that I'm at a little bit of a loss for words because as I'm recounting the podcast, this was the first time that I ever felt like we had ancestors in the room with us as we're speaking. It felt like we were speaking to a whole community. And I hope that feeling comes across in the video or in the listening experience of this pod. But without further ado, I just want everybody to experience this and have an open-hearted listen to this. So we'll just jump into the pod. Please welcome Marie Smallboy.
Hello, my relatives. How are you? Here at Our Storytellers, we care about your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being, which is why we want to inform you that this podcast discusses topics that may cause trauma to listeners and viewers. These subjects include mentions of Indian residential schools, assimilation, ongoing harm, colonial impacts, and much more. Our Storytellers recognizes the need to minimize the risks associated with traumatic subject matter. The Hope for Wellness helpline offers immediate help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. Services are available in English and French, and in nêhiyaw, Anishinaabe and Inuktitut upon request. If you or someone you know are experiencing any harm, no matter how big or small it's perceived to be, you can call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. Kinanaskaman, I'm grateful for you. Your ancestors are always with you. All my relations, Riel.
Okay, how come? What's the best Elvis song?
My mom used to love that song. It's is it Suspicious Minds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Suspicious Minds. Yeah, no, okay. Your mom used to love that song?
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite music?
Today it's Stan Walker.
Who's Dan Walker?
Stan Walker.
Oh, Stan Walker.
I Am. His song, he sings a song called I Am. And I've been kind of watching the Maoris.
Yeah, okay.
How they're fighting for their treaty as well.
What have you learned over there?
Their treaty is written in their own language.
Oh, okay.
And their government, the New Zealand government, is trying to change the principles of the treaty. And they're gathering to fight it. Because if they change the principles of the treaty, it allows the colonizer to overtake their lands and their way of being.
Right.
Their language.
What is it? Is it similar structure to how it is here, where they have multiple treaties for different people, or is it, or is this like the one big kind of like over?
The Treaty of Waitangi.
Yeah,
that's what they have.
Oh, okay.
But they're more. I find them more. Would you say assertive in enforcing their ancestral treaty, not the one that the colonizer wrote.
Right.
But their understanding of the treaty.
Right.
And that's what I've done all my life, is to propagate our version. Yeah.
Okay. We're good to go, Jimmy? Yeah. All right. Marie, thank you so much for joining us for the latest episode of Our Storytellers. I'm so grateful to have you here, of course. My name is Riel. I'm from Métis, from Korean Soto background, actually, and I would just like to offer you this protocol here today to ask you to sit with me and share some stories and some lessons, and also to open up the lines of communication and the relationship between you and I and our storytellers as a whole. And I'm just going to pass this over, and when you're ready to do so, please introduce yourself in your way.
Stemo. Gimigono. Mamo Dawino. Our Creator gave us the tobacco as to carry our messages to Him. And the name I got, Upsamosko, there's two of us, my younger sibling, the next to me. We carry that name. And it doesn't mean just dear woman. It also means bringing balance, male, female, bringing balance. And that's who my sister and I are. That's our connection. So Upsamosko is my name, my nêhiyaw name. My baptismal name is Marie Small. Small being a translation, a missionary's translation of, actually it's not small, it's small boy. The missionaries called a small boy. So that's the name that I got registered with Vital Stats. But small is how my dad condensed it, because that's the true meaning of our ancestral name, which is Upchicho. That's our great-great-grandfather. That's the name we carry.
Mm. What's the story behind that name?
Well, he carried, my great-grandmother married him, and my great-grandmother comes from Giskayo, who entered the treaty relationship on behalf of the Maskwacis, or on behalf of nêhiyaw, which is all Inu, and he carried that, and it was my great-grandmother that maintained what he left behind.
Mm.
The ceremonies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the man she married, I don't know, married, but lived with, they traveled across, like, it was not, they didn't observe the boundaries that the colonizer put there. Mm-hmm. So our relations go way far south. And some of them I don't even know, but I know we're related to a lot of people in Idaho, Rocky Boy, mostly in Rocky Boy.
Mm.
That's where one of our ancestors settled with his family. So we have a lot of relatives in Rocky Boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about what's your story? How did you grow up?
A balance of RC and nêhiyaw. We call nêhiyaw is our ancestral way of being. As a child, I was exposed to it. I would say my first ceremony that I remember was I was maybe 2 or 3 years old. And it was a healing ceremony for my great-grandmother. And the power of our ceremonies, I still remember right at that young age, is feeling the thunderbird swoop my face, the warmth, the gentleness of the being. And that's where, growing up, it helped me not necessarily believe, but to embrace our ancestral way of being, because it's so powerful, so gentle. There's no real, unless you're in it. Like me, I was innocent at 2 or 3 years old to be able to be in that ceremony, and throughout the years, I was engrossed in it by my extended family, like going to ceremonies, sun dances, the healing lodges, and I talk with my hands.
That's okay.
And then we were Powell people. Now when we moved. I think it was about 9 or 10. We moved to Smallboy camp. We were one of the ones that our family. My dad was called Giftoscapos. That must be my dad. The Giftoscapos is the one that went ahead and scouted the area where we would bring the people, and there's a big story to that as well. The moving of the people to camp, and that was to remove ourselves from colonial influence. And that's how I grew up, was living in the mountains and tents and living off the land. When we moved back, when Dad realized that doesn't matter where you are, it's who you are. And that's what carries us through life, is being the way that Creator meant us to be. And I need Kleenex. My nose is running.
Okay, I'll run and grab you some. Hold on 1 second.
Hi, my relatives. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you have any feedback, please comment on YouTube or submit feedback through Spotify. All of your feedback helps us make this production so much better. So thank you so much. And back to your podcast.
So, and let me know if you need some more tea. I'm hogging the pot over here too. But, so where were you living? So your dad took you to Smallboy camp eventually. Where were you before that?
They had, back in the day, they built houses collectively. None of this hiring contractors and stuff. They got the material to build a house, and they built Mom and Dad's house when they first got married. I think I was the baby when they built it. And we live in an area where people call it Smallville these days, but it was all bush. And we grew up with my dad farmed the land. We had cattle, horses. I grew up with those. And eventually he got into, he became an entrepreneur. He got his own heavy equipment operation going. He built highways and on different reserves. He even built one for the province. And I was 13 when I kind of got thrown into his bookkeeping and helping with make lunches for 25 men. And so I grew up around, I was raised like a boy or a man, a son, because the ones that followed my older brother were all girls, so we were all raised like men. Yeah. Then eventually he got into politics and dragged me along.
Would you say that your dad's influence is what led you into politics eventually? Or
I think
being
so.
politically active?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the babysitter for Harold Cardinal when they were getting ready for the red paper. When they brought the elders out to Vancouver Island. I babysat for Harold Cardinal at that time.
For myself and the listeners that don't know, what was the red paper and who was Harold Cardinal?
Harold Cardinal was the wordsmith for what they refer to as Citizens Plus. That's the red paper. And he obtained guidance from our old people of the time, the wise ones, and he pulled them together. They had a think tank, and they told him what to say in there. But being young, he wasn't able to conceptualize what they were really saying. So I read the red paper when I did my university degree. I majored in political science by accident. And he his what we have now in Alberta, and I think most places, most communities or our people have what they call learning centers or cultural centers, cultural colleges. That was an offshoot of that, where he wanted to bring our people to educate ourselves in our own way of being. to teach our language or develop our own curriculum. That was a big dream. And it's materializing today, but it's got so much colonial influence, you know.
How so?
Our language is a prime example. And I'm sure it's like that with every other Innu language. It's we interpret it so the colonial being will understand. We teach it to our children with a colonial translation. But when you break the words down, like me, I conceptualize words differently because I understand the words. And when I look at the dictionaries, they're lacking the essence of the word, and it takes away from, because our language has thought processes in there that maintain our identity, our way of being. Like a lot of our words, I don't like to use Cree because that's a French term. I say nêhiyaw, which is being for a being with four. I don't know what the word is. 4 elements: water, fire, air, and Mother Earth. That's where we come from. So that's why we call ourselves nêhiyaw. And it's those terms like fire is our heart, and our heart. A lot of the words that we have in our language have that word. Like in means, where's your heart going? You know, and ninstotin is my heart understands. So you don't get that translation in a dictionary.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then even then, probably like the translation to that English right there probably doesn't even do the full justice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Is there any other examples that you can think of? I love learning this stuff.
Yeah. Xnohamatuin. That's when our ancestors met and discussed what they wanted the colonizer, the relationship. Xnohamatuin means, it has 2 meanings. One is to teach one another, to remind, like, Xnohamatin megwatsnia tansamaya kiano is in stohtamaknewiao. I am teaching you how we understand our ancestral way of being nêhiyaw. And that Xnohamato, and that's what that embraces, is our, the colonizer has a way of teaching that removes the essence of our being. Even themselves, they do themselves an injustice because they don't embrace how Creator designed us, you know. And so Xnohamatoin is to teach one another, but it's also that which teaches, and that's what we call, the Monial calls, an education system. Us, we don't have an education system. We live it from day one, from the time, even while you're in the womb. You know, you're in your mother's womb in the water, and that's where the life flows from. Is as long as the rivers flow, that's one of the. Everybody knows as
the
long
prophecies.
as,
Yeah.
the sun shines, grass grows, rivers flow. The sun is what's in here. The rivers is life as before That's what we're in.
Mm.
Water's magic, water's life. And that's what comes out. And it's our spirit. That's a woman, a life giver is given that gift to make life from a spirit. The spirit comes and water flows. And the grass is the people. It's life itself. That's what those three, sun shines, grass flows, rivers flow.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can I ask you maybe a funny question? But it's, where do babies come from?
My late son was the one that actually taught me that.
Yeah.
The stars.
Mm.
Yeah. Our spirits come, and then it's creator's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, let's jump back to your story here. But you grew up very tradish.
Mm-hmm.
What were the teen years like for you? What were you getting up to?
I was radical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was very, and our dad raised us that way. Our mom and dad raised us that way, to speak our minds. Residential school I was the terrorist. I did not conform. So I got into a lot of trouble. First day of school, I didn't know a word of English. My auntie, who had gone to Sunday school, had a bit of English. And first day of school, this tall white woman was shaking me, and I didn't know why. And I was traumatized, I guess. And I could hear in the background, while she was shaking me, I could hear my auntie yelling, "Marie Smallboy," which means say your name, say your English name. And as soon as I said that, the white woman dropped me. Like, she stopped shaking me. All she needed to know was my name. And that was the experience that brought me forward to be very proficient in the English language. And that's, I'm a very good writer. I went on to train in writing. I used to wonder why our chief used to always borrow me from my other job to do his writing for him. I didn't know I had the gift until I was 50. And at 50, I went to Vancouver Film School and learned how to write for multimedia. Yeah. And I do poems and stuff too. And I like what I sent you, the videos.
Yeah.
I like doing working with graphics. So I went and trained myself in graphic and web design.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What does writing do for you? Why was English so important for you to learn from that experience?
So I would never get shook up like that again. And it also helped me communicate our people's, like when I was involved in the political arenas at I think it was in my 20s. And they used to have me help wordsmith on the documents going to the governments. And I still do that, but I do it on my own accord now. I don't regurgitate. I speak truth. And that's a lot of the indoctrinated are affected by that truth because it's catching on. The indoctrinated are realizing that to live a lie, the colonial lie, that's the young people's missing piece, is to know our truths, because we've been like not shut out, forced out from being able to communicate in our own language. And it's the colonial thought processes hinders our own, and it's our language that's going to bring us back.
How would you recommend for us to relearn our language? Like, how would you recommend for me to go about learning it if I had to?
In the moment. If you have, where I learned, one of my grandfather is on point. We used to, Dad used to bring us to go and help him when he was sickly, and we'd start speaking English. He wouldn't listen to us. His way of making sure that we spoke our language was he would say, nêhiyaw, which means speak our language. I don't understand you. And that in itself was always in the moment. Like we had to, if he needed something, we had to bring it to him or ask him, Omsiti, is this how? Or Omatsi, is this what you need? So it's being in the moment to be able to grasp the meaning of the words. Like when I'm speaking our language to my tzapans, my great grandchildren, it's always in the moment what they're doing, and that's how they learn. We didn't have writing. The ear is our connection to who we are. Sorry about that.
Oh, take your time. No worries. There's no worries.
My why I did those the Gookum's cabin was to bring people into the moment, and that learning our language is much more easier to learn if you hear it constantly. And I'm guilty of not teaching my kids the language because the world moved so fast, and tried to keep up with the Joneses, and that took away from when we lived at camp. We were exposed to the old people on a daily, and being in the roles that we were intended to be in the circle, and the old people took us under their wings, and they were able to pick the ones that were the good listeners, the ones that would carry our ancestral ways forward, our language. And I find my generation, there's very few of us left, and that can actually not regurgitate, but to communicate our ancestral way of being in its truest sense of the word, And I love being around them because I can speak my language with them. My sister understands the language, but she can't speak it. That's what the colonizer calls silent speakers. They hear it, but they can't speak it.
What? So you mentioned that growing up in camp, the old ones were around you and were teaching you. Do you remember or have a memory about a teacher that really taught you something when you were growing up?
Every day was a learning. I've always believed that you learn something new every day.
Right.
And right to this is something that I'm 60. I'm going to be 68 years old, and And as I traveled my journey, the things I learned along the way, the realizations I never foresaw until I actually got there. So the life's journey, you learn from everyone. Children, my grandchildren taught me about gokumhood, about love, about respect. You know, my late son is the one who taught me lots about unconditional love. You know, and you learn that on your journey as you're going. There's a teacher in every corner, along your path. So my teachers, my mentors, and the influence on who I've become is all my extended family. Even the one that Bismo was named after had the most significant old stories by teaching us how to read the petroglyphs, how to. I'll tell you a story. We went to visit him. He being who he was. We walked into his house. I had my laptop, and my uncle had his writing pad, and my other uncle had his little tape recorder. And we're sitting there waiting. We're sitting around the table, and he's sitting there looking at us. And we were waiting for him to say the magic word, eh? And he didn't say anything. Then my uncle, one of the uncles, piped up and said, we came to, like said in our language, he said, we came to ask you more about the treaty, eh? And then he says, he points to my laptop, and he said, Nahasta, you don't need it. Same thing with my two uncles. Put your contraptions away. You don't need them. He said our Creator gave us ears, memory, so that you will learn. And then he proceeded. So we put our stuff away. Then he proceeded to demonstrate what he meant. Our way, years ago, our computers. You have like some that'll lose it, but they stored our information in many brains, many memories, and he demonstrated that by calling the three people where he stored certain information, and those three people regurgitated to him what he told them. So our computers are here, our memories, and like this podcast, you can store it somewhere in cyberspace. Our cyberspace is in here and in here. And that's our way of retaining who we are, because we live it. All the stories come in here, goes in our brain, and it absorbs all the essence of the words that are there. And in our thought processes, like I had to use that kind of analogy to be able to make my own grandchildren understand your thought processes matter. And if you're thinking in colonial terms all the time, well, you'll behave in a colonial way. But if our language is in there, then the thought process is different. Like that's where humility comes from. Real humility, respect. That's where that it.
Ah.
You know, It's in the language. Our language is very sacred, and it's a very, very gentle language. I'll use one term for an example. As time rolled on, one of the words that has a very derogatory meaning now, but back then it didn't. And it's not a nice term if you conceptualize it in the way that the colonial being conceptualizes it. Bastard. Mm. That's a colonial term, a very derogatory term for one born out of wedlock, because it's very Catholic, Christian. But back in the day when we didn't have kimitsagan is the term that we used. Now if you called somebody kimitsagan, they'd punch you in the face. Mm. But back then, because it was such a gentle term, it's a gentle term. Kimitsagan is someone that was made in secret. Mm. It's in private, or it was not like if you were committed to another person and you went and had a child with another person, mm-hmm. that person, the being that came out of that mother would be the kimitsagan, but it was never intended to hurt. It was just a truth, They were made in secret. Mm. So, that's the irony of the words that we use.
Mm. Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah. Do you I'm curious about, like, you mentioned, like, were there commitments to, like, specific partners back in the old ways? Or how did that work?
Back in the day, because life is sacred, mm-hmm. everyone's sacred, and if you had multiple partners, that was an understanding, mm-hmm. Between all the partners in there, and it was probably also required because of how life. I won't say hard. It was just the way life was back then. Mm-hmm. We have our terms have evolved. There's a word we use when we just shack up. It's called wikihtuan. And you're living with someone. The Christian would say you're living in sin, but it's just you're sharing your being is sharing a household or a home. We've added the term kihtsui kihtuin, which means the sacred commitment to live forever together, which what the colonizer, where you go in front of a priest or you get blessed with and that doesn't work. The colonial commitments don't work, but kihtui kihtuan is where you our ancestral way of being. It honors that commitment. I know people that have lived together for, I guess the oldest ones would be in maybe 70 years, and they're still alive and they're still together. Mm-hmm. And that's because of that kihtui kihtuan. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
For the videos that will be included in the links of wherever this goes, you speak a lot about the word treaty. Mm-hmm. Do you mind explaining to me and others what the word treaty really means?
Well, again,
or how you view it.
Yeah, again, it's treaty is a colonial term. Mm-hmm. Okay. When our ancestors, because of who they were and how their worldview. When they knew the nêhiyaw was gonna, how the nêhiyaw being was, the ceremonies they had in preparation for it, their worldview was maintained, and that's what our Wetaskiwin? It's not Wetaskiwin. It's Wetaskiwin. That's where our ancestors gathered and made a sacred pact to coexist together in peace. In peace, peace is maintained by everyone having the same thought processes. So before the nêhiyaw came, we all had the same thought processes. We all maintained peace by Creator's design, the laws that we followed, the natural laws we followed, the spiritual laws of the universe, the truths. Everyone knew those. So our thought processes when we were going to meet the nêhiyaw, those are the same thought processes that sat across from the nêhiyaw, and the pipe was used to bond us in spirit. Yeah, and you can't break that. You can't change the natural law because it's a truth. Then it's like gravity. You can't change gravity. You drop something, it falls to the floor. You know, you throw something in the air, it goes, and it's got to fall. That's gravity. That's a natural law. The spiritual laws are everything has a spirit. Water has a spirit. Fire has a spirit. Mother Earth we're connected to her through spirit. And it's those laws that they were very in tune with, that they believed in, that they lived. And that's what they went in and met with the nêhiyaw. Gawita schematic, that's entering a sacred pact with the blessings of, or the sanction of our ancestors, the blessings of the Creator. And that was all the very fundamental principle. I don't like to call it a treaty principle, but because treaty, it brings up all kinds of images of land grabs and all that stuff. So I use the word Wetaskiwin, which is that very sacred undertaking to coexist in peace forever. That's the and it upholds that fundamental principle of the paramountcy of the sanctity of life. And that video talks like that's what I refer to. So that's the foundation upon which we entered our treaty. And our treaty doesn't have a colonial number in the spirit world. So our relationship, our treaty relationship with all that exists, all that is sacred, all humanity, all living things, and that's what they went into the treaty relationship with. And how they expressed that, how they symbolized it, was the depth of the plow. That's how they told the nêhiyaw, you can only use this much, the depth of the plow. Because by only using the depth of the plow, you will uphold the paramountcy of the sanctity of all life. You won't go dig holes in the ground. You won't go and put dams in our sacred waters, you won't throw your waste in a river. You won't pollute. It's upholding the paramountcy of the sanctity of all life. That's what our treaty is about. There's other words. The written text of the treaty, that the nêhiyaw, all the lies they put on paper. There's certain stuff in there that our ancestors, I don't know if the word is demanded, but they had the nêhiyaw, they made sure the interpreter had those included. And that's, one is prohibition of intoxicants on our motherland. That didn't, they've broken that right when they gave us fire water. So was out the window. We call those asatoma, again, my memory. Asotamoinna. That's the promises, which are not the same as the ceremonial, the sacred pact. The asotamaona is we will, in living together, we cannot allow alcohol or any kind of intoxicants to interfere in our way of being. And, well, it's not where we are at today. The other one is cows and plows.
Okay.
What's happening in the world right now is the depth of the plow is being, the people, the world over is being reminded that all desecrating our motherland, not just our motherland. New Zealand's in the same boat. Australia, the Aborigines, what they call Aborigines, the indigenous people in Australia, the world over, Palestine, are prime examples of how we have allowed the colonizer to dictate, but the Creator has our back. No, the water is moving. What happened to Sumas Lake? It wanted to come back. You know, and the fire when they were trying to expand the tar sands, the fire was so close. The fire spirit was moving, and the wind, the tornadoes, that's what we breathe out. The wind. That's what air. Wind. We are part of the wind. We are part of the water. We are part of the fire. The fire in our heart. That is what our energies. They're our protectors. So they're moving, and the nêhiyaw is sitting there. Well, they're destroying the body of all our mother. We call her Kakyo Mamo Gawino, or all our mother. And by Creator's design, everything that He put that created our motherland, everything, the lithium, the oil, what else do you dig for? Gold, silver, everything. It has its purpose so our mother will live. And that's what we're destroying, is every time we, like our people in Maskwacis, we used, we never even, at the time it never dawned on us what was going to happen to our area, our motherland, our homelands. The desecration of her body and the sucking out of all that oil, the natural gas and stuff. They have a purpose there, and our people are paying for it today. like, I don't like to say it, but it's a truth. When the people that suffer because of poor decision making, not respecting creation, and that carries on into future generations. And unfortunately, the younger generation, I don't know. I'm hoping that's what Land Back is all about, is to recognize that we have a role as, not just us, all humanity has to clean up their act, so that we can all live in what our ancestors lived, in harmony with nature, because of the paramountcy of, the sanctity of all life. That's a law that we still need to uphold as human beings, but as more so for us, because that's what we need to bring into what we, I don't like to say offer the world, but it's a truth that needs to be told, for all humanity.
You mentioned the sanctity of, what was the last word there? Sorry, sanctity of
all life.
All life. Can you tell me a little bit more about that in that law?
It's a truth. If you abuse creation, the natural law, and the spirits will not be happy with us abusing each other and creation all around us. It's a truth that the consequences. Creator gave us those laws, and they're very they hold such truth, and we can't change them. We can't change them. If you dig a hole deep into the core of our motherland, it's going to impact our survival as human beings. And you can't, like, they have all these reclamation projects, and then in their agreements they put in there, they will reclaim them and fix them better than they were. How do you improve on creator's design?
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's those laws that creator, the truths of our existence as human beings, because we're spiritual, we're spirits, but we're living a human life. And the nêhiyaw has this idea that they rule, that they, then it's even written in our treaties, in their version of the written text of the colonial version of our treaty, that the dominion of, the British Empire, the dominion of the Queen, they think they rule all life, and that they can do willy-nilly with whatever they want with our humanity. 9124 is the most racist part of the Constitution. And that's like assuming jurisdiction over our humanity as nêhiyaw. That's basically the end result of that law. Section 35, same thing. It's not up to them to give us rights how to be who we are. Only we know. We know how we Creator designed us, to be who we are in truth. And a lot of and I know this doesn't sit well with a lot of young people, is to be told that you're not really, and it's not the young people's fault, but at the same time we have a responsibility to find out who we are, and that's your life's journey. When I realized what my whole journey, ceremonial journey, I started out praying to my ancestors for a damn term paper for Peter Lougheed. And that was to convince them that our treaty has more meaning than what they're saying it does. And I prayed. And that's how my journey, ceremonial journey, and I dreamt about my ancestors, and they took me to a place. If you want to understand, and this is something they said in our language, but if you want to understand who you are and what this treaty means to us, to our people, you need to have that ceremony. And that's what took me down to where I'm at today. And along the way, I learned what the treaty really means to us. And it's about upholding the paramountcy of the sanctity of all life. That's the bottom line, you know? But it took me a whole life's journey to come to that realization. You know? And the hypocrisy of the Christian faith has derailed our journey as a people. And that's where the young people need to recognize that being nêhiyaw is not so bad. And being nêhiyaw is a gift. Being nêhiyaw is a sacred way of being. And it's living that sacred way of being.
You know, one of the things that I feel like one of the things that our generation kind of struggles with is the balance between like the cameras and the in the colonial world and then where we want to be. What kind of advice would you give to our generation in terms of how we can best move forward to get back to natural law? My guess is that it would be through ceremony for sure, but I'm curious.
Everything is a tool. It has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. The technology is a tool. And if you're using a tool, but it's stuff that's made out of our Mother Earth, and you're using what is in the now, and to yearn for our ancestral way of being. And this is something that the young people, you utilize those tools to the best that you know how to do good. It's like a song. You dance and you sing your song, and you embrace the good that Creator gave us. We don't know if this is good. It's just how we've evolved as human beings. And when we find out, like when I found out that a lot of what we have, the technology that we have, our cell phones, how it hurts to get to that, to where it's at now, how it's hurting another people. It's like it's the little children that are collecting the lithium bare hands, and recognizing that and finding a way. I don't know. Someone might imagine. A long time ago, we didn't need these because we had telepathic communication.
We had our communicators, our memory.
Yeah, but we had it. Our spirits communicated with each other. My late father was an example of how we had a bond. When I needed him, he'd show up. Like I was in Saskatoon, he knew I needed him. All of a sudden, he shows up at the dorm, and you ready to go? You know, I was trying to figure out how am I going to get to this Sundance, you know, and then all of a sudden he's there, you know. So our way of communicating has been altered, and I see it now with my great grandchildren, where technology is their teacher. So if you're going to use technology to teach, you bring things in there that will help our people move towards the goodness of our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the goodness of our humanity as nêhiyaw that got our people, that our ancestral way of being. Most reserves now, the homelands of our people, wherever they are, we're struggling with our humanity. The deaths, the nepotism, the colonial influence in our way of living, and of the disrespect that we show each other, the way we hurt each other with mere words, the way we hoard from each other.
Hi, my relatives. Do you know how to start a podcast? Because at the beginning of starting Our Storytellers, I did not. One of the things that I've learned is how expensive podcasting can be. So please support us through our Patreon page. If you like what we're doing here, anything helps. You'll get early access to episodes, some exclusive content as well. Again, please support our Patreon page if you can. Thank you so much, Keenan Askaman. Back to our podcast episode.
I do feel someone in here right now. So
I asked the ancestors. I asked Iskayo and Big Bear to come with me and put words out there that to help me speak about what needs to be said to the young people.
Mm-hmm.
And life is so sacred, you know. And I'm praying for, right now, I love my sister, you know. And I believe in our creators. He will, whatever he decides, you know, her life is in his hands. And I have to take it one day at a time. And today, this was, for me, coming here as something that she encouraged me to do, because she truly believes that our nêhiyaw way of being is not, I hate to use the term propagated, to where the people, our young people, need to understand it's not about what we have, like just a nice looking cup, but it's about what's in here. And that's what's going to carry our people forward. It's helping one another, loving one another, going back to our collective way of being, our collective thought processes in like language revitalization has to take. I pray for it. It's to bring the true essence of our language back into our being, so that we actually live it, because it's the language that carries who we are as spiritual beings.
If you had to give the task today to a young person, or even myself, to spearhead revitalization, to keep it going, and we know that you have Kukum's, what was it called? Kukum's Corner?
Kukum's Cabin.
Kukum's Cabin. Yeah. Sorry about that. What would you like? What would you tell me? What would my first step be?
I think the young people need to be able to voice what they need. And my generation, there's such a big gap there of understanding, and it's our generation has to step up to the plate. So in saying that, the young people in search of a way forward, music is a way of that song that I play in the video, the song that was given to us at the time of making treaty with the nêhiyaw, that song is the pictures in that video. They Creator gave us eyes, Creator gave us ears. The song in that's the song that recognizes the wind. The flag will always this flag will fly forever with the wind. That's what that song says. That's the Union Jack. But in our way, we have you give me tobacco. We have prints, and those prints, when you take them to ceremony, you're taking it to a messenger. It's not the messenger that we. A lot of young people criticize the ceremonialists. Oh, they smoke dope, or you know, they drink alcohol, or they gamble. But it's their humanity. It's their they were gifted with a way to communicate with our Creator. So those ceremonial objects we use, those are the things that we need to embrace. The ceremony itself, when you immerse yourself in that ceremony, you feel all those good energies. And we can't, and this is part of the natural law, is if you commit to something, if you tell Creator, for my sibling to have a longer life and to be, her body to be fixed, I need to commit. I have to commit to something that will help her and Creator's kind. One of the ways we do it is we fast. We fast for something that we truly love, like the health of a child, or your work is just not cutting it out for you, so you fast so things will improve for you. So as young people, it's not who you go see, it's how you carry yourself and how you can contribute in a meaningful way to change. You know, the change that we seek is in us. We carry it, but it's to manifest what we want to see. I used vision boards, and I'll use one example. I needed to do a ceremony, and I was really struggling with, where am I going to have it? Who's going to help me? So I created a vision board. I drew it out. It came to be. So it's believing in your own truths, believing in how you want to achieve the good in your life, the good, the way that Creator created us to be good human beings, so that we honor the paramountcy of the sanctity of all life. And if you keep that as your guiding principle, or your guiding light, we will get to where we need to be as a people. The young people, they struggle with the conflicts of being in the colonial world and having there's so much chaos, confusion, calamity of our being in a world that we didn't create. You know, we're born into it. But it's finding those truths that are going to carry us forward as human beings. And it's not going to take anything material. Money, no money in this world will bring us where we need to be. and to feel good about it, And I look forward to that. I mean, as much as I struggle in my own humanity, I'm not a perfect person, but I struggle with myself, my own, and I do a lot of self-talk. I give myself a lot of heck, and it's learning. We talked earlier about sovereignty. Well, sovereignty is another colonial term. Inupa means when it's not a legal term in our understanding. It's a way of being. It's a way of life, and sovereignty, as I understand it in colonial terms, it's to dominate. It's to control. So in our way of being, we need a lot of self-control to be who we are. We can't say I am who I am. I call it surface identity, because a lot of our leadership today pay lip service to who we are, but they don't live it. And that's the sad part. They put into place programs that are going to push the colonial agenda. And the young people, the resistance of the young people is what I love, because they don't want to be. There's a song that you ought to listen to, and I don't know if you listen to it, but it's a deadly song, and it come out at such a good timing with the Maori people. I am. Have you listened to it?
No, I have not listened.
You have to listen.
I will listen to it right after this. I promise.
Stan Walker. And I see it on TikTok. And if you watch the Maori TikToks, they use a lot of that song in their background. To tell the world this is who we are, and none of it has to do with money. It has to do with their ancestral way of being.
Oh. Wow, I'm just feeling grateful to be here, to get here, to sit here and just listen to all of this, to be honest with you. But what do you say to the youth who might be a little bit nervous to approach ceremony and to approach the natural ways of being?
Creator does not discriminate. You go in there. There are a bit of a word of caution. There are some very... I don't know what nice word to use, but...
Use the mean word.
That are so strict in the rules of the ceremony itself. As long as you go into the ceremony knowing that you're good intentions, that you want to learn, and a lot of it, you carry an energy. If you
keep going.
Yeah, if you wanna go in there and exploit what's there, you won't get far. But if you're going there with your truest sense of being, and your energy carries you, your energy will emit to the Oskape Osak, that and they're pretty good at like, if you go in and you're really green and you want to learn, and you have to bring a print. White is our colors. That's Creator's color, and that's usually what I recommend to most young people that are wanting to go into ceremony, is you take a white print. It's very identifiable. All the Oskapeos know white. Our symbolism for our Creator, and of course the tobacco. That's our messenger to the Creator, and to bring those into a lodge. There's different lodges, and it doesn't matter which one you go into. As long as you're true and you're seeking health and happiness, whatever it is you're seeking to strengthen in who you are, or to find a way to, they'll come. If you're going there, I need to find some place where I can learn my language. Well, that will take you there, but it's believing in in your own truths, and then you'll find your way. It'll manifest. And there's no, like I said, Creator does not discriminate, but there are some lodges where there are very strict rules for good reason, and it's just to respect those. If you don't know, you ask. It's there's no shame in asking. And if you need help, no shame in asking for help. That's just being truly human.
Just quickly before we wrap up here, but who would you like to dedicate this podcast to? If anybody.
If anybody, our ancestors. They're the ones that got us here. And I'm going to be an ancestor, so hopefully somebody will dedicate generations down.
Well, I really appreciate for you coming to share with me, and I'm so grateful. So thank you so much.
Nanas Comunista. I'm also grateful for you having me here, because to be able to speak truth. That's what we all need to do.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my relatives. Thank you so much for watching and listening to today's podcast with Marie Smallboy. Marie, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and for coming on and sharing a little bit of your knowledge, your lessons, your teachings with us. It's greatly appreciated, and I myself am so grateful. So thank you so much. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review, a comment. Any type of engagement helps. If you have any feedback, please let us know as well too, because we're always trying to make this better for everybody. So Keenan Askman, I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Love, Riel.